Welcome into Sportsmemo's betting podcast for July 31st. We got Nick Borrman on. We're talking some soccer, MLS, every game on the board. Nick, welcome into the podcast. How you doing?
Hey, Drew. I'm doing great, man. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. We got a quick podcast here on the MLS Every Game on the Board segment. But we got the EPL starting up next week?
Yeah, starts next Friday, so really looking forward to that. And then the other leagues start the following weekend. So it's going to be starting to get into the busy time of year, just in time for football here in the States.
Absolutely, man. So it's a good time to be, right before football, betting soccer. Hopefully we can get you on some winners. Make sure to check out Nick's service at sportsmemo.com. We got a coupon code we're going to give out here, Borman7 on the pod. That's BORRMAN 7 for half off of his 7-day all access here. And he's been good, so check it out. And we're going to break down every game, starting off with the LA Galaxy at Atlanta. Atlanta minus 1.25, total of 3.25, Nick.
Yeah, so today what I have spent a lot of hours, months rather, kind of over the summer and the end of last year, kind of working on some models for the upcoming season. So today's podcast, we're going to go through the games more from a model base, kind of, let you know what the numbers are spitting out, and then kind of see if the agreement's there. And I have a couple ones kind of going on actual goals versus expected goals. And I'm not sure if you're aware of the difference, but soccer is, obviously a very low scoring sport. So there's a lot of luck involved in some of these games. And oftentimes you'll see teams that, maybe played better or worse, and the results don't line up with how the teams really played on the field. So expected goals is kind of a newer stat that really takes into account everything that led up to the shot, passes, where the shot was taken, the angle was taken, the distance it was taken. So it's a good barometer to really understand, should a goal have been scored there versus was that, just a lucky goal from 30 yards out. So it's a little bit more in depth as opposed to just looking at regular scores and trying to figure out, X beat Y, but really when you look into the deeper stats, it probably didn't work out that way on the field. So anyway, just wanted to kind of announce that I got some new models going on for the season. Really excited for that. So today's podcast, we're going to talk a little bit about how those are spitting out some winners for a few of these MLS games this week. So right now, the two models I have Atlanta winning this game 64% of the time on the actual goal score model and 58% of the time on the expected goals model. So what I'm doing right now, just from a pure number standpoint, is taking those percentages and turning them into odds based on the probability that they're going to win at those percentages. So at 64%, Atlanta should fall in the range of about minus 180, and at 58%, they should fall in the range of about minus 140. So you can see at the current price, right now they're listed at about minus 250. They're way off there, and there's really not a lot of value. Again, this is based on the model I have right now, but there's not a lot of value there in the price that they're at. Versus LA, on the other hand, they should be around plus 600. They're being spit out by my model at either 12% or 14% of the time to win, which works to about a plus 600 to plus 800 mark. And right now they're anywhere from plus 600 to plus 650 out there in the market. So what's been good so far with the model, I back tested it throughout last year. It was pretty successful. And as I'm going forward and working on it and using it at current lines that are out there, it's spitting out a lot of lines that the odds makers are. And we know that they're very good at putting out lines, whether it be soccer or any sport. So it's pretty good to see that it's coming out with them. But there's definitely some discrepancies out there. In this game, you can see the side for those numbers I just kind of threw out there are right on the money. So it's not suggesting a lot of value. But there is quite a bit of value here being put on the under actually in this game. The simulations I'm using are suggesting that Atlanta's going to has a 76% chance to score 2 goals or less, while LA has an 89% chance to score 1 goal or less. So combining those, you're talking about like a 62 to 68% chance, respectively, to stay under this total, which at 3.25 and being priced right at minus 110 right now is a very, very high percentage to stay under at. So quick eye test on it. LA is 6-16 over under this year, so very much an under team, and Atlanta is 5-18 over under this year. So a lot of the numbers on the field are backing that up with how they're being played. So model and quick look at the game and how I would bet this on my own. Both agree here. So I do like the under 3.25 in this one, Drew.
Man, Nick, that was a good breakdown. And my follow-up question would be, out of all the games on the slate, 3.25 is the highest number. Why would that total be at 3.25?
Right now, it's kind of going on, I think, the fact that Atlanta, their last game, when you're looking at a model, right? So you're taking into the full season stats, and anything that happens in the next, or I guess in the last week, 2 weeks, can sometimes skew that. So right now, the entire year, if you look back at the beginning of the season for Atlanta, they were very, very much an under team. I mean, they were their first 8 games of the year, I believe, all stayed under this total. And as we've gotten into the later part of the season, their defense has still been solid all year, but they've scored at a little bit of a higher clip lately than they did in the beginning of the season. So, current trends, if you look at their last 2 games, they just lost 3-4 against LAFC in their last game out. And then if you look at LA Galaxy, they just lost 0-4 at Portland. So a lot of the numbers you'll see spit out from odds makers is kind of current, and a lot of people like to remember what just happened. What was the most recent thing that happened? What was most recent 2 games, 3 games, and they kind of don't go back far enough to really look at what's happened over time. So I think we're seeing the number this high based on some recent performances from them. But I think based on what I've seen from each team all season, LA really struggles on the road, and there's plenty of games this year that they didn't even get on the board on the road. So I like the fact that this totals this high. I agree with the way my model's throwing the numbers out there, and I think just we're seeing a little bit higher right now based on some recent games. So I think there's some good value here, and I wouldn't be surprised to see the total come down, but I'm going with the under here. I like everything that I'm seeing.
All right, we got Toronto at New York Red Bulls up next. Looks like Red Bulls minus a half a goal, total of 3, Nick.
Yeah, so not a lot of value right now from my model on the side right now. Actually, New York is favored being spit out to win 51% of the time, and the expected goals model has them coming out at 45% of the time. So they're favored by a half goal. So if you're familiar with soccer betting at all, I know we've talked plenty of times, but for the listeners that have not, when it comes to soccer lines, there's kind of equivalence when you're looking at a goal line versus the 3-way, which is also referred to as the money line spread. So when you see a team minus 0.5, that means they are it's the same thing as taking them on the money line, and you'll usually see that priced right about the same. In this case, both lines are around minus 105. Whether you take them on the money line or you take them at minus 0.5. So in this case, minus 0.5 is the same thing as taking them to win outright, which my model's right around 50%. And you can see the price is right around that same number, minus 105, minus 110. So not a lot of value there coming out that these numbers are kicking out. And the totals, when you see a total number here on the flat number like it is right at 3, the models that I'm using will usually not often find a lot of value. Right now, it's only got a 44% chance to stay under and a 32% chance to go over. You could look at it the other way and say, well, also it's at a 32% chance to go over. That means it's got a 32% chance not to lose, right? Because it could land on 3. And then you add the probability to land on 3 and the probability to land under 3, and you're saying now all of a sudden there's a 68% chance not to go over this total. But I don't really want to bet on something not to do something. I'd rather bet on numbers that make sense to succeed in something. So anyway, when it comes to these models and you get flat numbers because you're not scoring a lot of goals, and 3 is the most common flat number you're going to see, a lot of the times there's not going to be value there. So model is right on line there. So not a lot of value on either side here. And looking at the past performance of both teams, I really agree. I don't see a lot of trends pointing at either team. I could see it going either which way. So this one's a pass for me, Drew.
All right, we got Los Angeles FC at New England up next. Looks like New England's a heavy underdog here, total of 3.25.
Yeah, this one has moved because this game came out at minus 0.25 for LAFC on the road, which we know we don't see those a lot. And then some money came in, one big bet. I'm not sure if it was one big bet, a couple of big bets, or just a lot of small money, but I'm guessing there was one or two bigger ones as the market changed right away from minus 0.25 back down to a pick. And then right as that happens, it didn't last more than about 30 minutes, and it went right back to minus 0.25 for LAFC. So people were jumping on both sides as soon as they started to move. So LAFC is definitely the better team as far as the season goes, but New England has been playing very, very well. We've talked about Bruce Arena arriving for them and coaching them, and he's gone 11 games now since he joined the team without a loss. So they're a tough team right now, New England. But my model has LA winning this game 60% of the time, which if you convert that to an odds number is minus 150 on the odds. So a ton of value there. But, like I said, because of the streak and the current form that you're seeing New England on, and again, my models are taking numbers from the whole season. The beginning of the season, New England sucked. So the last 11 games, they've really, really played much better. So I'm not in a full agreement here with the 60% chance for LAFC to win. I think it's more like a 50% chance to win, which, again, would be about an even odds, right? Minus 110 or plus 100 odds. So even at the plus 130 price, if you look at their money line rent price right now, I think there's good value on LAFC. So I like LAFC here. I'm not quite as high as my model is on them, but I think LAFC at plus 130, I would take them on the three-way line as opposed to laying a quarter of a goal. But I think there's good value on the visitors in this one, Drew.
All right, Nick, and we got Dallas at Orlando up next. Orlando a short home favorite, total at 2.75.
Yeah, little value here on Dallas. Models kind of have them spinning out in the low 40s as far as percentages to win the game, and plus 190 is where they lie on the money line right now. So if you catch them at plus a quarter of a goal, which is where they sit on the handicap side, as you mentioned, I think that's some a good price to get them at. Quick look between the teams and what's going on currently, and really. It's Orlando who's been far from consistent this whole year, and really they have just one win in their last 6 games, and they've gone 3 straight winless. Dallas's form has not been that great either. They've lost 5 of their last 7 on the road. They struggle on the road. But the argument I would make for Dallas here is head-to-head, Orlando has never beaten Dallas. In 5 meetings all time, Dallas has 4 wins and 1 draw. So I kind of like the history of Dallas here in this one, and my numbers are suggesting they have a better chance actually of winning this game than Orlando does. So I like them at plus a quarter of a goal here, Drew.
Good stuff, Nick. We also got Vancouver at Cincinnati. Cincinnati minus a half a goal, total at 2.75.
So money line prices, we're looking at plus 320 right now for Vancouver and minus 125 for Cincinnati. Quick thing I'm going to say here is these are the 2 worst teams in the league. Vancouver has just 4 wins on the year. Cincy has just 5 wins on the year. They are numbers 23 and 24, which is out of 24 teams in the league in terms of goals scored, and they both rank in the bottom 3 in goals conceded. So you can see that they are two of the teams that you don't really want to be watching much on TV this year. So the fact that Cincinnati is minus a half a goal favorite at home, I think, is a little high. My model's got Vancouver actually winning this game at about 40%. Versus Cincinnati winning only about 30%, because there's also, if you remember in soccer, there's always a draw option too, so there's about a 30% chance of a draw here as well. So the fact that Vancouver is getting plus 320, I think there's a ton of value there. I hate betting on bad teams, but again, I've faded Cincinnati quite a bit this year and been pretty successful. So I think taking Vancouver, catching the half a goal is probably the way to play this one. But again, such a bad team, and neither team's been great. I wouldn't go too big on this one, but I like the visitors here, Drew.
All right, Nick. Next game up, we got Montreal traveling south of the border and heading to altitude at Colorado, minus a quarter goal, total at 2.75. And Nick, feel free to just bounce off any other plays you wanted to throw out there on the Saturday portion of the card here.
Sure. So this one game here, my model's liking the total. We're looking at Colorado on the year 15-7 over the total, and Montreal at 17-7 over this total. And model's showing that this game's got a 63 to 65% chance of going over this total. So that's obviously a very, very good price to take. So I like the over in this one. I'm not seeing a ton of value on either side. As far as the other games going on Saturday, we have Chicago at Houston. Houston is a quarter of a goal favorite, and the total's at 3. I like Houston at home in this game. Chicago's been very terrible all year, so I think catching Houston, they're actually plus 125 at home to win outright. I think that's a great play on Houston. I'm pretty high on that one this week. Another 2 games on Saturday, New York, Salt Lake. Very tough. New York's probably a little better on paper. Salt Lake, very, very tough to play. So I don't see a ton of value on anything in this one. Complete pass there. I think that's going to be a tough game to predict what's going to happen. And the last one on Saturday night is Columbus at San Jose, who San Jose has been probably the hottest team in MLS the last 2 months, and they're favored by a full goal. My model's actually giving percentages and value to Columbus on the road. However, it's hard to get behind, it's hard to go against San Jose and what they've been doing right now. So I'm going to pass on this one as well. And honestly, based on current form and not using any sort of modeling here, I would suggest San Jose is probably going to win the game. I don't necessarily know if they'll win by more than 1, which is the goal line, but at least winning the game. And if they only win by 1, you're just pushing on the bet. If anything, I would probably take San Jose here, even though my model is suggesting value on Columbus in this one.
And a couple things on these last few games. One, the Colorado over the total. Do you think there's something there, to the thin air and guys kind of being a little winded and that affecting defense more than it affects offense?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, you would give them the advantage
right.
For knowing, for being there, right? But any other team coming in, I mean, why not? If you're not used to doing that, the same goes when you're playing in Salt Lake. It's going to be that way. I mean, Colorado's had issues this year and last year and even 2 years ago defensively, though. So, I mean, they just don't have the players and the caliber on the back line. They've always been that team. But I think there's definitely a factor involved there. So I think it's a good point you bring up, Drew, for sure.
Interesting. Okay. And then it was San Jose minus the full goal here at home. Do you find yourself just like as a profile betting these heavy favorites minus a goal? Because let's say they're up, 2-1. Are they going to be gunning more for a goal at that standpoint, or are they just going to kind of be playing back and just, the 2-1 lead? Or is there some sort of advantage in MLS that, myself and the casual viewer out there might not be aware of to actually winning games by 2 goals?
Awesome question. And I think you're going to see this kind of even across all the leagues out there, not just the MLS. So -1, all right, it's 2-1, and it's the 80th minute. What's actually going to be happening, San Jose doesn't need a score. They've got the win in the bag. They just have to not give up a goal. But Columbus, on the other hand, what do they have to do? They have to press, right? So they got to push forward. They got to get guys forward. They got to go for goal. What that does is that one mistake, that one turnover, that one interception San Jose makes, all of a sudden they're going to turn and be on the break, and they're going to be wide open on the counterattack. So more often than not, at least in the games I've tried to handicap over the years and the games I've bet on, what you'll see towards the end of the game is the team that has the lead will be able to sneak in another one late because the other team's pressing so forward. It's almost like the empty net in hockey. You don't have an empty net in soccer, of course, but you got guys pressing so far forward that it leaves them so vulnerable on the back end that you will see these games be covered there late in the game, even though they don't need a score. So great question there, Drew, for sure.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense, and I've seen that. I'm more of an international watcher. But I've definitely seen that. A team down 1 is pressing, and then they give up a late goal. Yeah, definitely see that. And we got, guys, the coupon code Borman77, BORRMAN, and the number 7 at the end there. All one word for half off of Nick Borman's 7-day all-access package, all of his soccer plays, all plays that he releases for the next 7 days. And we'll finish it off here with the Sunday card. We got Portland, Minnesota, Philadelphia, DC United, and Kansas City at Seattle there. All totaled at 3, Nick. I'll throw it over to you in conclusion. What do you think the listeners need to know about the Sunday slate?
Um, First game, Portland, Minnesota. Not liking much there, Drew. I think the numbers are right where they need to be. They're two of the hottest teams besides San Jose. These are probably the two other hottest teams in the league, and you can make arguments on both sides. So I'm not huge on either team here in this game. I think it's gonna be fun to watch, but definitely not a great game to bet. The second game, Philly at DC. DC at home has been pretty solid all year. My model's got them spitting out at right about a 50% chance to win. And on the money line, they're plus 145. So that's obviously very, very good value. Philly has been better all year, has a slightly better record, but they've lost back-to-back road games 0-4, and they have just one win in their last six. DC hasn't been getting a ton of wins. They've been having to settle for a lot of draws at home. They're just not quite putting that goal in when they need to. So right now they're a pick'em price. I do like DC. I think they present value, but I would say take them at a pick'em. Plus 0 is the Asian handicap there. I would say take them on the two-way line there as opposed to trying to take them on the money line, which is plus 145, just a little bit safer in case they do draw. And then the last game, Kansas City at Seattle. This one's really value right now, but it's gonna change as it moves. So I've got Seattle somewhere in the mid 50s, 54, 57% likely to win this one, and they're at minus 105. So a lot of my model is going to be based on the fact of value. So at minus 105 for them to win, based on my numbers, is good. But as soon as they start to rise to minus 120, minus 125, that value is gone because now you're at kind of a break-even type of a number in the long run. So if you're going to take Seattle, I do like them at home. They are the tough team to beat at home, but I would say do that now before that price starts to move. I think it'll climb as we get a little closer to game time.
Good stuff, Nick, overall, man. And anything else you want to throw it out in conclusion?
Just waiting for that European season. Golf, we're not talking much this week. There's kind of a fill-in week here as it's the week before the playoffs start. So all the big names are taking the week off as they get ready for a 3-week stretch of playoffs. So we'll talk about some more golf again next week, and then we'll talk Premier League next week, which starts next Friday. So no, man, I'm just getting excited for both of those events coming up, and good luck with football. I know that's been big in your repertoire, and I know you're going to be busy for the next 4 months with a lot of football action. So good luck this season, buddy.
Absolutely. Thank you, Nick, and good luck to you as well. Everybody out there, best of luck out there with your bets, and we'll be back on Friday talking with Robbie Vino, talk some MLB and some college football. So best of luck with your bets. We'll talk on Friday.